If you're actively seeking ways to build your mental toughness, navigate life transitions with grace, or simply find inspiration to keep moving forward, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking. My name is Yvette and I'm here with my co-host Cat. Today we're actually going to cover all about from anxiety to authenticity and really using your truth to find that inner calm and what that means. So Cat, do you want to go into a little bit of why we're actually covering this topic today?
Yeah. We were talking about anxiety because it's so common, and we were talking about interestingly the different aspects of how to manage anxiety because there's a few different ways to come at it. Now, what we're going to talk about today actually is quite scary and could possibly be quite confronting. So I'll just warn everybody now, it's a heavy one. It's one that's going to really make you think. So if you're not in that headspace today, maybe go and watch a Disney movie instead because we're ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Anxiety is one of those things that we work with it. I mean, I know I work with it with cognitive behavioral therapy. That's very effective for anxiety, and we've talked about that a lot of it. Where we say the thoughts that you think generate your mood and your feelings because they do, and that is scientifically proven. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of those it's just proven. It's one of those steadfasts for dealing with anxiety. But what was really interesting is that I had anxiety for years, like really, really bad anxiety. I was your original worrywart. And to some extent, that came out of my childhood because, Yvette, you and I both had pretty rough childhoods.
Yeah.
But I really went down that worrying kind of anxious sort of stage. But my anxiety really kicked into high gear when I met my ex-husband, strangely. And that was when he basically told me that I needed to go and see a psychologist. And I'm grateful that he did because it was a really good experience for me to go and do that. But I would always have to keep using cognitive behavioral therapy, using exercise and constantly. It was almost like my anxiety was manageable, but I couldn't ever get away from it until I left him and then moved on, and now my anxiety would be 20% of what it was when I was with him.
So that almost goes back to, and I suppose that goes back to the earlier comment you were saying of it's a scary topic that what we're covering, because what it really comes down to is in your situation, and it's usually the case for most people, your body and your heart are screaming at you, telling you that there's something wrong, and you're basically ignoring it.
Yes. So I'm not saying, we'll clarify, we're not saying that all anxiety is as a result of environmental, mine came from being in the wrong environment with the wrong person, in the wrong marriage, living the life that didn't suit me. And I knew I was desperately unhappy inside, but I kept telling myself, well, he doesn't gamble, he doesn't drink, he keeps a job, we're doing okay. He's a half decent dad. He doesn't abuse me. Well, not physically anyway. And, really, why should I be so selfish as to give up on this relationship? And my anxiety is my problem. But actually, I don't know which person it was that said it. People quote Nietzsche. I don't think it was him, but it's funny. Before you diagnose yourself with anxiety and depression, maybe just check first to make sure you're not surrounded by assholes.
Yeah, exactly right. It is. But see, in that situation, and that's why I say that is because I know that a lot of people that I've coached who also, we all suffer from anxiety at some level or what have you. And in most cases I have found their body and, as I said, their heart is actually screaming at them. Whether that is anxiety caused from, being in a bad relationship through to working in a toxic work environment. And the thing about it, sometimes it's not even the environment itself is not over the top. It can be really subtle things, and you just shouldn't be there. Or even in a friendship. Sorry, I can't even speak. A friendship circle, the same sort of thing. Where every ounce of you is telling you not to be there, but you're ignoring it. And when you totally ignore yourself, then you will start to get anxious. You will start to spiral down and things like that. So I think the big question is, why are you ignoring yourself? Why are you not trusting yourself?
Well, that's the hardest thing, and that's the trick, because what cognitive behavioral therapy teaches you is the 10 habits of stinking thinking. And one of them is, for example, black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking,
Yeah.
these kinds of things. So, one of the things that was really helpful to me that psychologists taught me was just because you're feeling a sense of impending doom, or you're thinking thoughts that everything's about to become disastrous or something terrible is going to happen, that doesn't that's you're not psychic. That doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. So in a way, anxiety, like CBT, teaches you to really question your own thought process and
Mhm.
why you're thinking those thoughts. Now that's really useful on the one hand, if you're in a good life and things are going well, or you've had an upsetting incident or something's brought it on. But if you're constantly doing CBT, making the repairs, moving forward, and then feeling a bit better, but then sliding straight back into it the minute you come back into contact with your husband or your friend or whatever it is,
So you're being
and
triggered ultimately?
being triggered all the time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just stuck in that place, or sometimes even going to yourself, and this is the big scary thing. Yes, I do look at my relationship. I do see how unhealthy it is. I can see, yeah, that things aren't good, but if I choose to leave, I'll lose everything. I'll lose my nice home, and it'll be a massive impact on all of our families and all of our friendship groups, and it will just be so much terrifying change, and I stand to lose so much. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that.
Oh, absolutely. And
Mm,
it's actually it is a scary place to be in because when you are not trusting in yourself
yes.
and you're forcing yourself to stay in an environment that you really don't want to be in,
Yeah.
you kind of feel you feel lost, you feel totally
Yeah.
stuck.
A
And
bird in a
I
gilded
mean, I know
cage.
that that's how I have felt when I've been in certain environments where especially for me, it seems to play out well, it has played out no longer, but it, in the workforce, that used to happen to me quite a bit where I'd be in a job
Yeah.
that I really, really didn't want, but I felt stuck. I kind of
Yeah.
felt like well, I do have mortgage to pay and I've got to,
Exactly.
it's bringing in the income and I've
Mhm.
just got to put up with this because, everybody has to put up with this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And until I just got to a point where physically I couldn't actually get myself out of bed.
No, that's it, and your
And
body
I'd be
and your
getting,
neck's tight and,
yeah, yeah. And
and
I'd be
so it's a
getting
risk. It's a risk, isn't it?
migraines and
Mm.
having anxiety attacks.
Oh,
Sometimes I'd find myself like really just wanting to be in a fetal position, rocking back
mm,
and forward. That's how I felt on the inside. That all I wanted to do was go sit in a corner and just rock.
that
But
panic,
it was like, no,
yeah.
you can't
Oh,
do that. You just got to drag yourself to this place and keep going, even though every little bit of you is screaming out, you're telling
yeah.
you not to do it.
Yeah, and that's why people burn out. That's
Yeah.
the perfect, but
Well,
this
that's
is the
why you have
thing.
mental breakdowns as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
just
But the question is the balance. So, how much of this is actually me just being anxious,
yeah.
and how much of this is my soul screaming at me, things aren't right. So the question is, how do you work out the difference? And that's your area, because that's what you're really good at. So how do you tell? Because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell that it was actually that was what was going on. It took me absolutely fucking years to work that out.
Yeah.
Dumb. But anyway, just it took me
I mean,
forever.
I would say I was probably in this similar position where it took me a while to I I did know that I wasn't meant to be in the environment, but I kept forcing myself to go, but it took me a while to accept that I just needed to take the risk and leave regardless.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I found that when I did anyway, literally within 48 hours, something else had popped up. And
Yes.
because I hadn't actually opened myself to it, I was not allowing that to pop up. So I had
Yeah,
found that when I made the decision, things just unfolded quite well.
yeah,
And the other side of it though was the only reason why I had, and I remember in those early years, made those decisions was because I'd hit the wall and I'd
yeah,
gone, I can't do
yeah,
this anymore.
yeah,
And the idea is to recognize it before you actually hit the wall.
yeah,
So what some of the things that I do now and what I work with people on is when you are finding that you're in your head a lot, and one of the signs for me, if I was in my head a lot, was I'd be over analyzing
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
situation. or an event. I'd just be
Ruminating.
overanalyzing and going
Yeah.
over in my head over and over again and looking at different scenarios
Yeah.
and going, well, what if this and what if that? Or I'd be going through, this is the conversation I'm going to have tomorrow with them and this is how it's going to work out. And so you're just constantly in your head in that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I realize that that's what I'm doing, I basically stop. So now I don't tend to, I catch myself quite quickly when I'm going in my head. But one of the early things that I used to do was to kind of go, okay, you need basically a mental health day. You just need to give yourself a
Yeah.
break
Yep.
from the environment and give yourself 24 hours to
Yeah.
get it out of your system. Allow all of the crap to come up to the surface. If you
Yep.
need to cry on your pillow, cry on your pillow, and then just let it all out. Don't think. And
Yep.
but the other side of it too is don't stay in it. Don't sit there and dwell on it. Just allow whatever emotions you've got that need to be released, allow
Yeah.
them to be released,
Yep.
allow them to come up to the surface rather than pushing them down all the time and trying to brave it. And then the next day go, okay, fresh. And
Yeah.
when you do that as well, when you allow that to come out, the other interesting thing that happens is, and we've mentioned this before about that, all of a sudden you get clarity of thought. You can think more clearly. You can
Yeah.
make better decisions when you're coming from that place.
Yep.
And that's the next thing. So the next day you go, okay, what's my decision going to be today?
Yep.
How am
So
I
give
going to
yourself.
deal with this?
So this is what actually works. When you
Yes.
stop, you give yourself 24 hours to just breathe, and you just go, right, that's it. I'm putting my burden down for 24 hours and I'm going to do whatever works for me. Hot bath. I like to write things down, actually.
Yeah, I was
I've got a,
going to say writing is another
yeah.
one.
If I've got a dreadful jumble of just shit in my head, I'll just start writing, and it doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't. One day I'm going to pen an absolute banger out of this, I reckon. Anyway, just stream of consciousness shit. I'm going to give David Bowie a run for his money. So, but sometimes just all that crap, you just start writing it out. I find I
Yeah,
can write it through my pen and take it out of my head. That actually works. So
it
then
does work. Yeah.
breathing, having a hot bath, just watching shit on telly, whatever it is that
Mhm.
works for you. That's what actually works, and that makes it all the difference. And then so what you're telling me is once you've let all of that go, you can take a step back. And how do you hear what is real versus
What's
what is
not?
just anxious, and
Yeah.
like how do you tell the difference between
Well,
anxious thoughts and
if you
what is
think
actually
about it,
real?
and I suppose this is the other side. It depends how connected you are to yourself in the sense of,
Yeah.
are you connected to your body or are you not? Because if you're really in your head quite a lot, you're going to
Mm.
feel totally disconnected from your body.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And so you may not even, besides the fact that you're having anxiety issues and you're perhaps very tense and stuff like that, you may
Mm.
not recognize that that's actually signs that your body's trying to talk to you
Yep.
about what's happening. And also, when you're in your head a lot, that means you're not connected to, as you said before, your spirit, or
Mm.
what I like to refer to as your authentic self. You're
Yep.
not connected. You are totally disconnecting yourself from it.
Yep.
And the thing about it is that essence of you is always there. It is
Yeah.
constantly always, it doesn't go away. It's there.
That's
You've just
right.
got to start to listen to it. So it really comes back to having a conversation with yourself out of not the monkey mind, the monkey chatter,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
over anxious stuff, the fear talk, the doubt talk. When that comes through, that's definitely not
No.
your inner self,
That's your
That's
automatic
the
thoughts, as they would call it in psychology, your irrational automatic thoughts that come through, and they are negative, and they're really surface chitty chat things. And
yeah,
that's one thing I learned to do with a mood log would be to go, right, why am I feeling anxious? What is it? Write all those stupid thoughts down. And when you look at them, when you calm down and come back to them in an hour, you go, I can't believe I said all this
yeah,
stupid
yeah.
stuff about myself. It's so dumb,
And
actually.
that's the interesting thing, as you said,
Mm.
the thoughts are they're not the type of thoughts that if you were having a good conversation with a friend of yours,
No, no,
you wouldn't be talking that way.
no.
And it's the same when you are connected to your authentic self. It doesn't talk to you that way. It talks to you like it would to a friend, But
Yeah.
your monkey chatter, your monkey mind, it's almost like, I kind of refer to it like when I'm thinking that way, when I'm in that state, and I've mentioned this way, I think I mentioned it in the anxiety episode that we were talking about, my whole body and even my mind, I feel like, when you see the cartoon pictures of a cat that's put its paw in a electric socket and it's all fuzzy,
Yeah.
that's how I feel all over. I just feel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that the
Teeth on edge.
mental chatter that's going on is
Oh.
like that. It's like this,
Yeah.
rather than being a calm, very centered,
Yep.
very
And
soothing type
I
of a voice.
think because we're not encouraged to think about it this way, we're only encouraged to think about mental health from an intellectual perspective. We're only just starting now to head towards reflecting and being mindful, but we're not even still talking about getting back into our spirit, into our bodies, and
Yep.
aligning ourselves. I think that you can defeat anxiety on a mental level by going through the processes and learning the exercises and using it, but it doesn't stick. So if it's not sticking, there's something else going on. Are you, in fact, in the wrong environment? Are you squeezing yourself into a place that you don't belong and that is actually just slowly squashing your spirit? Have you abandoned the dreams that you once had because you have decided you just need to shut up and conform?
Exactly. And with that, you just feel like you're on autopilot,
Yeah.
really, total autopilot.
Yep.
You're not appreciating, I suppose, the beauty around you. And one of the key things, as you were saying, was you'll write a list. I'll do this. I'll do a similar thing where I'll write a list of the
Yeah.
thoughts that are coming in, but then I'll actually counter them with.
Yes, that's
I'll
the
look at it
way.
and I'll go,
Knock
where
them
in my
down.
life am I the opposite to that?
Rational responses.
Yeah, and then I
Absolutely.
counter it with a different thought process to prove to myself that I'm not that.
Can you
That
give
I
an example? Can you give an example of that effect? Because that's a really powerful method to basically totally and utterly destroy the anxious thoughts.
Mm. Let's say if I feel as if I'm actually I'm going to use a workforce environment. Let's say that I'm feeling within myself that I'm not good enough at what I'm doing. And I really have a feeling of being really shit at what I'm doing, even though I know I may have a ton of skills in this area.
Yep.
But because I'm being bullied in the workplace, I feel totally and utterly inadequate. And I'm
Yep.
believing, and I'm looking at it going, I'm the problem.
You're
I'm
being
the problem.
devalued. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then I'll come back and I'll write down going, okay, so what's going on here? And usually the interesting thing is when I start writing out the negative thought patterns that are coming, there's only a few of them. There's not a lot. And it'll be stuff like, you're not good enough, you're shit at what you're doing, or what have you.
Yep.
But then I look at it and I go, okay, so where have I done this before? Like I've been in this role before, I've done something similar, or I look at my skills and I go, I've got 15 years experience.
That's right.
I've got, like I've got credentials in this. I've got blah, 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 blah. I have actually, you may have been awarded for your role in the past for under a different management. And looking at it going, okay, so it's actually not me. It's the
Have I
environment.
made a mistake in this instance, or have I deliberately done the wrong thing?
And that's the
No.
other thing is the self-reflection of, because you know yourself if you have actually done something wrong, and that you're just being difficult to work with. So you know that yourself. And if you can look at it and go, no, I'm actually trying my best, but in these people's eyes, it's still not
enough.
good enough.
Yep.
Well, then the problem's not with me.
You're in the wrong place. And
if they're not willing to guide me or mentor me, like if they believe that I need to improve and they're not willing to guide me or mentor me to improve, to upskill, to be better in my job, then again, the problem's not with me.
No, they're sabotaging you in that instant because they don't want to help you. They're devaluing you. They're scapegoating you. And then if you go to them and say, oh, look, if I'm not doing the job you want me to do, how can I improve? And they ignore you. I had this experience recently. I sent an email saying, I went to the guy's door and I said, can we have a chat this morning, please? And he just said, I'm busy. And I went, okay. You would make time. And then about half an hour later, he knocked at my door and just stood there and went, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, well, nothing in the hallway. So that's how, but on from that, That's how you get back to your own, or that's what really works, getting back to your own authentic self. So you're testing it. You're going, I'm anxious. Why am I feeling anxious? What are the thoughts that are coming out of me? Write those thoughts down. Why am I thinking those thoughts? Is there any actual logical, reasonable explanation to those thoughts? So some of the thoughts that might come up for me will be things like, fuck, you always fail. You always fail. That's a thought for me. And then
Mm.
I'll go, no, I don't. I've actually kicked ass a million times. I have done way more good things than failures. And if I have failed, I've learned from it and moved on. That's how
Yeah.
you answer those negative thoughts. And then
Yeah.
you kind of go, shut up, I don't want to hear that negativity. Uh,
That's
but,
right.
if the other thing I noticed as well, to being in the wrong environment, this also works, is that if the people, or, whether it be work or relationship or whatever. So my ex-husband would love to say to me, why are you always causing problems? Why is it always you? Why are you always doing this? You've always got an issue, haven't you? You're always the issue. You're always the problem. And I thought to myself one day, he sounds like my own words from my irrational, self-doubting thoughts.
Mm.
He's repeating.
Mm.
Are these my fears and my irrational thoughts, or are they coming out of him and I'm just being programmed by him now? You know?
Well, it can be both because
Mm.
if you look at, there's a common thing within the metaphysical world, even personal growth world, where they say
Mm.
that your environment is a mirror of your thoughts. What you think about comes about, that type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Your beliefs dictate your entire environment,
Mm.
and it really comes back to, and it takes a lot. Because I remember when I first heard this, I was going, no, like I'm looking at it going, no way, there's no way. How I don't treat myself this way, because obviously they're
Yeah,
always going to go to the extreme to how you talk to yourself. Um,
yeah,
and then as I started to observe more and learn more about metaphysics, I kind of started to realize, I went, holy shit, actually, it's quite it's it's quite accurate that
yeah,
what you think about yourself, and that constant self-talk,
yep, yep.
regardless of whether, if that's good self-talk, then you'll that's what you'll see and
So
feel
true.
and experience. And if it's
Yeah,
negative, you're going to actually experience that as well. And what it
so
also
true.
is that people can also see in you what they see in themselves as well. So
Yeah.
you end up, I suppose, projecting more upon each other as well,
Mm,
because you know how
mm.
you can be around certain people, and there's the whole thing, they bring out the worst in you.
You just find them super irritating.
Yep,
Yes, it's
yep.
difficult. There are
And
some
they
people
bring
that are
out
like that.
and you bring out the worst in them as well.
Mm, mm.
And it's exactly, and they kind of look at it, and I always go, when that happens to me, I always look at it and I go, okay, how am I talking to myself, or what am I believing in this situation that I need to change?
Yep, yep. That's
Because a
and
belief can be changed.
that's why this work is scary and confronting sometimes, and it's really hard sometimes, and that's why you need additional guidance and help from other people that have
Oh,
walked this
yeah,
path before.
absolutely.
Because sometimes you just look at yourself, and I've had moments where I've gone, "Oh shit, it is me." And I've got to fix and it's not about judging yourself and hating yourself or going, oh my God, I'm so flawed, or being ashamed of it, of a character trait or whatever. It's about going, actually, if you flip it and look at it from another perspective, it's really, really empowering as well,
It is,
because you're
because
able to look at it.
what you're doing is, again, by getting rid of that part of your mask, or that thing that you are, holding on to, or belief that you're holding on to that really doesn't support you in any sort of a way at all, is
Mm,
actually going to help you grow. And it's
yeah,
also going to help you remove some of that baggage off your
yeah,
back as well. So some of
yeah,
that, so release some of that pressure, release some
yeah,
of the heaviness that you put on yourself. And so, in fact, it's actually going to assist you to, I don't look at it and say to become a better version of yourself. And I've said this before, it's about allowing the real you to come out, because
mm,
it's there, it's always there, and you show aspects of it to people around you, but you may not necessarily be in that space all the time, because
yeah,
you're allowing your negative beliefs, your anxious thought patterns, or even those self-sabotaging behaviors to dictate your life and how you are in your life and how you show up in your life.
Which is
And
very limiting. That's a
it
very
is.
a self-limiting thought process. I did some training yesterday, and the guy said this really cool thing. He was saying that when you're distressed, or when a person is distressed, or the behavior is escalating and emotionally they're going there, and anxiety, fear, rage, whatever it is, you're looking at the world through like a toilet roll,
Yeah.
and that's all you can see. You completely miss the bigger picture. You completely miss, and you limit what you can do and how you can see the world, because our minds aren't that big
No.
compared to our spirit. That's when you put all these limitations on yourself, and
Yeah, you
actually
do.
we're capable of so much more. But getting back to anxiety, what actually works to help you um, calm, I suppose, because anxiety is a bit of a nasty tiger. It sits there in the background, and you think you're going along okay, and then suddenly it just comes at you, and you can't always know why. It takes a bit of an
Yeah.
effort to sit down and figure out, why is this happening? Why am I reacting like this?
Well, if
And
I start to get the little sort of heart flutters that sometimes can happen and
mm,
change in breathing, because that used to be one of the, signs for me is I'd start having a little bit of difficulty with breathing. It's almost like
yeah,
hyperventilating,
yep,
and I look and I go, "Okay, what's been on my mind? What
yeah.
have I been thinking of in the back of my mind all the time and not paying attention to what's going on there?"
Yep.
And I know it's like then and as soon as I go, "Okay, what is it?" And pop up and you go, "Okay, okay, so let's have a chat. And I would start to myself about and go, "What's going on here? Why am I concerned about this? Am I making up a story here?
Mm,
Is that what's actually happening? Am I creating a story around something that hasn't even eventuated,
mm,
but because of past events,
yep,
I'm going back to what's happened in the past and believing that that's what's going to happen in the future, when in actual fact I can change that. I can change my circumstances."
yeah.
And same sort of thing, you look at it and go, "Well, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen?"
I love doing
And
that one.
asking yourself that, what is the worst
Mm,
thing that could possibly happen?
mm, mm,
And usually it's nothing major. But if it happens to be like, well, this could happen, you go, well, okay, what? And then I look at it from, this is where my old program management and project management comes in. I kind of look at it and go, okay, well, from a risk mitigation perspective,
yep, yep,
what mitigation can I put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen, to help you
exactly.
settle down?
Mm. Like if you've got a social anxiety, you're going to an event and maybe you've got to meet a bunch of people, and some of them, you might not particularly like, or you find them intimidating. Then, yeah, I've done that. I go through a process of, okay, how am I going to manage this? So things like, I will make sure that I wear an outfit which I feel very comfortable in, that doesn't need adjusting all the time, or isn't fussy, and I'll make sure that I'm very relaxed, because otherwise, if you're already anxious, you don't want to be flapping and fussing and carrying on just little things. But I mean, I suppose when you have anxiety, you can become a little bit overly controlling about things too. So that's when I know that my anxiety is creeping up. Similarly to what you said, is if my brain is going, what about this, what about that, what about this, and
Yeah.
going on and over the top. When I'm not anxious, I don't even think about that stuff. I'm just
No.
like, and when you do get more engaged, and this is the really interesting, I suppose it's a paradigm shift. It's the weird irony. When you're super anxious, the last place that you want to go is inside yourself, because that seems
Yeah.
really scary.
It's funny that, because for me, that's the first place I go to.
Right. So when I'm
Um,
super anxious,
yeah.
I don't want to look inside, because
Yeah.
it's such a terrifying mess at that moment. I'm too scared. But the irony is that if I were to look inside more often and be more connected with that when I am, my anxiety just reduces.
Starts to settle,
Yeah.
correct. See, if I'm in a space, as I said, where I'm really, as I said, I look at it and I go, I need to have a mental health day, that's where I'll give myself the 24 hours, and I'll just do whatever, and then the next day I'll start working on it
Yep.
and looking at it, okay, what do I need to do? Um, one of the other things though, if I catch it, I mean, I don't get anxiety too much these days now, because I seem to pick up on it a lot quicker. And I do a lot of meditation as well, and that
Mm,
helps ton load.
yep.
People do not underestimate meditation. It can do so much for you. And there is, I know for people who do suffer from anxiety, and yourself included, where you've kind of said, well, I can't meditate because my mind goes all over the place. Guided meditation is perfect
I
for
think I
people.
said it was like trying to watch a rabid hamster
You did.
leaping all over the. the room and then attacking and jumping into my face. That's
You
what it's
did.
like
And
when
I know that
yeah.
you've started doing meditation recently as
Yeah,
well, and you've actually said the effects have been amazing
they
for you.
have. Yeah,
And so guided meditation is absolutely amazing for people who struggle with that. You know, you
yeah.
don't, as I said, you don't need to become any form of spiritual leader or a monk or go sit in a cave or anything like that. Meditation is amazing. There's so much science behind the benefits that
Mm,
meditation can give people.
yeah,
And for me, I meditate twice a day. I meditate in the morning and I meditate in the evenings. And I would say that is probably why I don't sort of struggle too much with anxiety anymore, because the meditation keeps me
yeah,
centered, keeps me
yep,
calm. If I find that my mind is going too crazy and I can't do my normal meditations, I'll actually do a guided meditation.
yep.
Or I'll go for a walk, because you've also got physical meditations that you can do, you know. So going for a
Mm,
walk and just being away from everything,
yeah, in nature.
and being around nature
Mm,
is another form of meditation. It's like that whole contemplation, that being present and appreciating the beauty around you. One of the
yeah.
other things that I do is the shape shifting method.
Yep, yep,
So again, if I'm because one thing with anxiety that it does, it hits your confidence as well. It can really throw your
yeah.
confidence out. And as I said, if you're having anxiety because of how other people are treating you, or you feel not good enough, and usually that's an underlying aspect of anxiety is you don't feel good enough, and you're scared. You know, there's the fear
Fearful,
factor.
fearful of the
So
future.
is to look at areas of your life where you don't experience that. You know,
Mm,
where you have got confidence,
mhm,
and put yourself in that space, like, think of that particular event, or, you know, whether it's an activity that you're doing,
yep.
it could be, you know, cuddling your cat or your dog, or playing with your child, or it could be doing art, whatever it is, but take yourself
Mm,
to that space and how you feel there in your mind. So you think about it, you take yourself there, and then you think of the situation that gives you anxiety, or gives
mm,
you a lack of confidence, or gives you fear, and you think of that place that does that, and you go back to the other place in your mind of the space that actually does give you the confidence, and give you feel centered, you feel calm, and give it a color. And if you can't give it a color, just
mm.
feel it. What is it?
Yeah, right.
And then grab that and kind of merge it over the other part of how you're
Oh, that's a
feeling.
good
And you'll
technique.
probably in your body as well, when you think of that space of feeling calm and confident and, you know, being centered,
Mm,
where do you feel that in your body?
mm. Yeah,
And
that's
then where do you feel the anxiousness, the fear, the doubt, the lack of confidence in your body? And then what you're
yeah.
doing is you're merging that color that you're feeling from that other part of your body across to it, and imagining that that color is washing over that other part of your body.
And so that pushes that confidence
That
into
pushes that confidence across into
that
that space,
situation. And
or
I
that
guess
centeredness into that space.
that's like
And
training you,
I
isn't it?
find it's also very calming as well in
Mm,
doing that. And the other aspect by doing it is you are proving to yourself that you have got confidence. You can be centered,
yep,
because that you are that in another part of your life.
yeah.
And what we're trying to do is really, you know, shape shift that across to the part of your life where you're not.
Transferable skill.
Yeah.
Mm. That is a fantastic technique. That really works. I've used that. I've done that training with you, and I have found that to be an amazing technique. It's brilliant because, honestly, I mean, none of us are confident in every single area of our life. It's just, I mean, if you are, you're probably the Dalai Lama.
Or Buddha.
Yeah, or Buddha. So yeah, that's good. But yeah, I think that is an amazing technique. So that's actually there's quite a few things that you've named up there. I think meditation now, because I'm doing the guided meditations, I'm looking at that more as a preventative measure for me. I
Yeah.
know it's a growth pattern, like it's a growth thing, but I'm also looking at it. I know that if I do meditation last thing before bed at night, I get a better night's sleep, and I go to sleep just feeling calm and relaxed, and I feel
Yes.
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other
Mm.
thing is gratitude, and this is a really simple one, because
Mm.
gratitude opens your heart up.
Yep,
That's what it just totally opens your heart up when you're
yeah,
grateful. And
yep.
what does anxiety do? It
Oh, it
shuts you
shuts you
down,
down.
right? It just
Yep,
kind of shuts you down.
yep.
So one of the things with gratitude, and especially if you do gratitude just before you go to sleep at night. You can
Yep.
either get yourself a gratitude journal and write it down, or you can just think about it in your mind, but
Mhm.
picking 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for during the
Great.
day, and they could be anything. And if you struggle to find stuff, it could be the fact that, be grateful for the fact that you have electricity and that you've got a comfortable bed and that you
Yep.
fed yourself that night. That
Yep. Yep.
There's still
That you
important
opened your
things.
eyes that morning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So find things to be grateful for, and then you can build upon it. And gradually, as you do start to build upon the gratitude for life in general, you can start looking at yourself and go, "What are the things that I'm grateful for about me?
And that's
What are some of
challenging.
my traits and
It's
attributes?"
challenging, isn't it? Like, I think we had
Mm,
this discussion the other day, and that would lead to mirror work, which is very
yes,
challenging, where
which a
you
lot of people avoid.
been a bit naughty, but anyway, um, yes, I've not fulfilled the assignment, but that's okay, I will. But I have found mirror work very challenging because looking at yourself and being appreciative of yourself is something we're not taught to do. We're also taught to be highly self-critical, and we're fed a constant diet of impossible perfection and in every area, not just how you look but how you achieve and the money that you earn. And oh God, it just goes on and on and on. So it's very difficult sometimes to look. It's not considered the done thing to look at yourself
No,
and
well,
go, hmm,
I mean, I know I struggled with mirror work when I first came across it. And I came across it at a time when I was suffering from depression and anxiety. And
yeah,
so looking at myself was like, it's the last thing I freaking wanted to do was look at
yeah,
myself in the mirror and
yeah,
also appreciate what I saw.
mm,
It was like, oh, that was very hard. But I followed through with it because I was kind of going, I would much prefer to feel better about myself than to stay in this space over
yeah,
here.
yeah,
And I was kind of going, so I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I can come out of this. And after just even 2 weeks of doing it consistently, I found there was a change within myself
yeah,
and all of a sudden I could start looking at myself. Uh,
mm,
may not necessarily been, immediately appreciating myself, but I wasn't looking at myself and finding a fault straight away.
yeah, yeah. That's such a
Yeah.
powerful tool. It's such an easy thing, and anyone can do it.
Oh,
You know,
anyone can do
everyone
it.
owns a mirror.
Anyone can do it. I mean, Louise Hayes has a great book on it. I do my own thing now, but it is an amazing tool. And if you do it consistently for 30 days, like do a write down how you feel beforehand, before
Yep,
you start, how you're feeling within yourself, then start the mirror work for 30 days.
yep,
You will struggle. It will be, it is so, and literally it is in your face because you are in your face. um, and you will struggle with it.
yep,
You will definitely struggle with it, but then it'll start to ease up. And then at the end of 30 days, look back and write down how you feel now and look back at what you wrote 30 days prior and see
yep.
the difference because there will be a difference.
And
And it's
that's
just
very true.
fascinating.
The other thing that's really interesting is when you're anxious, I find, you're going at a million miles an hour. Have
Mm,
you noticed that? You're going at
mm.
high speed. You're like a bullet
Hence the
train.
frazzle cat thing.
Yeah, yeah, yep, crazy. So so then being told, well, if you do this for the next 30 days, things will start to calm down. Sometimes when you're in panic mode, you're like, "Oh my God, I need something now."
Yeah.
Anything that you can recommend in the moment that actually works to bring you from sort of up here to calm back down a bit?
Deep breathing.
Deep
So
breathing.
breathing into your center. And that's that 7-4-7 breath technique or the hatha that I was speaking about earlier, feeling yourself, putting your hands down on your lower belly and just breathing deeply into that lower belly for a count of 7, holding it for a count of 4, and then releasing for a count of 7.
Mm,
And that you'll find just it calms you straight away because you're focusing on the breath.
yep, yep.
Yeah. And
And
I will
some
do
people.
that, I've done that when I have, when I mentioned before about, when I used to suffer from anxiety, like have the attacks, but the first thing that would happen for me was I'd start to get the shallow breathing because
Yeah,
you're being up here, you're not breathing
going into
deeply, and
fight
I'd
or
start
flight.
getting the shallow breathing.
Yep, yep.
Um, and so I'd stop and I go, breathe deeply. And I just stop
Mm,
where I am, put my hands on my lower belly and then just start to breathe deeply and visualize my breath going really deep into my center, down into my core,
yep,
just feel it there and then release it. And then
mm,
that would just get my breath back to normal. That would
yep,
calm me and recenter me. It's also really great if you're nervous about, before you're going into any sort of a meeting that you're nervous about or an
yeah,
interview or,
Yep.
Even if you're talking about the social anxiety, it's a really good thing to just center you for a couple of minutes before you go into the space.
Well, it brings you in a totally different energy, and I think it brings a different energy to the people that you're around as well.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I also don't mind a hot bath. If I've had a massive day and I'm just feeling like, "Oh god, to hell with all of this," and if I start to feel a bit anxious, going into a my bathroom, having a hot bath with a shit ton of bubbles in it, and lighting a couple of candles and just putting a bit of chill music in. And I think for some reason, it's just I'm doing this for me. I'm
Yeah.
taking the time for me to just feel my body, relax, calm, and that's what you need. You've just got to go back to
Yeah.
yourself. Mm.
I mean, I know some people, I've had some clients who punish themselves and they kind of go, I won't look after myself when I'm, suffering from fear and doubt and
Mm.
anxiety and I'm in that downward spiral. I won't look after myself at all. So
Yeah,
even thinking of
that's
having a
common
bath
too.
is a hard thing. But
Yeah,
the thing about it is if you push yourself into it to start, and you start small. It's like
yeah,
just start small. Do something small today
that gives you
that
pleasure.
is actually
Yeah,
basically telling yourself on a subconscious level that you are worthy, hence having a
yes.
bath or, you know,
Care for myself.
doing a little gratitude journal or
Mm,
meditating for 5 minutes or doing deep breathing,
mm,
whatever it takes. Just do something and start with 5 minutes and build upon it, build upon
mm.
it, and build
'Cause we're
upon it.
so caught up with managing our mental health and managing our physical health and eating veggies and drinking water and doing all the things, but we never
Yeah.
stop to go, "What does my soul need to just feel calm for a minute, to be acknowledged, to
Yes.
know that it's, what do I
Yeah.
need to do there?" We don't do that stuff, and
No.
that's what we're missing, isn't it?
Correct. And I'd like to say there that, we do have our Authentic Life Blueprint program, our coaching
Yes.
program. We've also got the workbook that you can get on its own. These are
Mm,
tools that'll actually assist you because sometimes you can't do it on your own. Sometimes you need some of that direction. And I know for me, when I did start off with doing, personal growth and metaphysics, etc., they were tools that I was using to help me get through
yeah,
these feelings that I had about myself and the anxiety and the depression. And I can say now, coming out of the other end of it, they worked brilliantly for me,
they do,
absolutely
they do.
brilliantly.
And I
And
like
so
I like
the
the
workbook
blueprint that
that
you've
we've
done.
created has
Yeah.
got all of those tools involved in there.
I love how the way you've done it, you build like you start off with the basics and then
Mm,
you build step by step by step. And that's what's good about it because you just build it all the way through. Because I mean, I really hadn't done that much metaphysical side of things. I'd done a lot of psych side of things.
yeah.
But again, that was only half the equation. And I was like, well, how do you learn this stuff? It seems so kind of ephemeral. How do you learn it? But you've done that in that book. It's fantastic the way you've sort of broken it right down and made it really clear. So
And I think
definitely
it
worth
complements.
doing.
I mean, the thing about it is you could still be doing,
Mm,
work with your psych or counselor or what have you, and
yeah.
this type of work over here will just complement that. It'll actually
Mm,
improve upon it, make it even more powerful, and you'll
yes.
you'll get more out of it rather than just isolating it. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. It brings it all together because we're
it does. Brings the
it's
whole
kind of
thing together.
it's like fixing your liver and your kidney and not worrying about your lungs, you know, and the rest of your body. You are one holistic thing. You're not just an organ or a
No, you're
separate
not.
thing.
There is so much
Yeah.
more to you than you absolutely realize. And the thing
Mm,
about it is, I've said this again numerous times. We are all unique. We all have something unique to offer
yeah.
in this lifetime. And I really believe that we are here to express ourselves fully. And so, you're doing yourself a disservice by not expressing yourself
Mm,
fully. And
yeah.
also those people around you who are waiting to see and be, like in a really great relationship with the authentic you because
Mm.
it's going to, your life will be, oh, yeah,
Be
it's just
unlike things that you've ever dreamed because you can't dream. Yeah, I think I heard something the other day. It said everything that is designed for you is already there. It's
it
already in
is.
existence. It's
It
already
is, and
there,
you've just
ready
got
to
to
go.
allow it to come to you.
And stop trying to control everything.
Exactly. Well, I think on that note, we've probably come to a natural conclusion.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening to us today, guys.
Ah,
It's always our pleasure to share this. We would love to hear from you as well if
yeah,
you've got any questions about the topic that we raised today, or any insights that you've had, or even if you've got ideas for future episodes that you would like us to cover.
yeah,
Please come and join our Facebook community. You'll find us under the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. And also, please subscribe, because through subscribing, it enables us to actually broaden our scope and get
yeah,
more people, and also
absolutely.
build our community, which is what we're really about. We really want to build a community and have like minded people
Yeah.
being able to support each other.
Or leave us a review as well. If
Yeah.
you'd like to leave us a review, we would certainly. I mean, if you leave a review that gives us constructive feedback, we'll probably read that out next session. I
Yeah,
reckon.
we will. We'll read it out the next time we're here.
Give you a
Yeah.
shout out.
And even questions, any of the questions you have, we will gather the questions together, especially if we've got a few of them, and we'll do a session just on the questions that you actually have, and
Yeah,
come back with some answers.
that'd be awesome.
So thanks again for listening to us. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to speaking to you on our next episode. And remember to live brilliantly and think beautifully. Take care,
You
team.
guys, bye.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes, or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family, and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.